Everything's coming up to Timberwolves. Yeah. In the zone, simple dedication to the team when you're in the know. To Timberwolves. Yeah. In the soul, lifting all the positivity for the Wolves to grow. So, where we going from here, man? We listen week to week to get the clearest to clear. Recaps, got that. Soundcap, got that. Team ads, got that. So tell me what they do not have, huh? How dare you? Foolish question to ask, but I don't mean to go brag. But boy, they got all the stats, and they could go all the way back from KG to Zerbiak. And all I'm saying is that the cast a one-stop shop for my Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Ain't a thing falling, everything's coming up. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Falling from the autumn, ain't nobody gonna stop them. It's the Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Phonies, you can spot them, they the sheep under their clothes. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Talk a lot about them, y'all don't really know. Let's go.
Welcome in to another Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast, and I'll let Pat Bev kind of fade out the song That's now. Right. Yeah, as he's celebrating, and there's a lot to celebrate in Minnesota. It is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Everson. Chris, how we feeling?
We're feeling good, man. Winner's circle. I'm all for it.
Absolutely. And as always, we are joined by Jared Good. Jared, how we doing?
Phenomenal, man. I'd be lying to you if I said anything else. Everything you could ask for in game one, really. Steal one on the road, and now we have home court advantage.
That's true. That's true. And let's get right into it. Chris, your impressions of game one. Let's just get right into it.
It was great, man. It was great. We went around, and now we've got all the pressure on them. So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing, making them, feel that pressure. I think some of it might have been, a little rust on their part. Let us get out early, but hey, man, that's the way the NBA is. I think we had a good strategy. I'm not sure if it was a complete strategy or if the plan was to, force Ja to kind of be a one-man show and kind of cut off the rest. If that was the plan, we could talk about that a little later, but I loved that. Ant Edwards stepped up. Karl Anthony Towns bounced back, which we talked on here, said he should. It wouldn't be a big issue. We mentioned when he gets doubled, swing. I mean, that's all you need to do. Turns out that's what he did. Swing. And who's on the back side of the play? It's Anthony Edwards. So now they're in a scramble. They're either attacking Edwards, which is, you're about to get dunked on, or you come slowly at him and he hits a three. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, everything went how it should be. We mentioned how they're too big and slow. They can't guard Cat straight up with what's that big dude's name now?
Steven Adams.
Yeah, and Cat just made him look foolish. I mean, everything went the way it should. I mean, it's hard to give up 20 free throws to the other team's star and still, win comfortably.
By double digits, yeah.
And what I love the most is we got up early, big, then they fought back, and then we still pushed it away. So it wasn't like just a runaway where we're just front running the whole time. Like, it was still a hard fought win, which is what we need for experience. I mean, it was just a beautiful game.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And one thing that I found interesting out of the Wolves game is I forget, I think, what did we have, like 12 turnovers in the second quarter, and 11. We still led at half. I mean, that's amazing resilience right there. That's bending and not breaking. Also, you were talking about Steven Adams. I don't think he scored.
He went 0 points in 24 minutes, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and like 4 or 5 fouls too. Yeah.
Advantage Cat definitely on this one. But Jared, your impressions of the game?
I think it really, all season long we kind of just said that if we get 20 out of our big three, that's going to be enough, and that's kind of like our key to winning. But really now it's turned into, we need 2 out of the 3 to have a good game. In the Clippers game, obviously it was D'Lo and Ant. And then in game 1 versus Memphis, it was Cat and Ant. But that seems to be kind of the recipe. Like, if we can get 2 guys clicking early and often, that really might be all we need. And if we get all three, I mean, good luck beating us, because you had Beasley come off the bench and score 21. Like, that's not a weapon that every –
I believe.
Yeah, that's not a weapon that every NBA team has in the playoffs, is a guy that can come in and put up 21 off the bench. Like, that's just kind of rare this time of year, because, this is the time of year where you see starters play 35 to 40 minutes. Everything gets ramped up for the playoffs, and you really don't see a guy come off the bench with all that much importance. And it's nice. It's a nice key to have, really. But other than that, just looking at the first game, I remember talking about the foul trouble issues with Cat and Jaren Jackson Jr. Both of those players throughout their career have battled foul issues. And Jaren Jackson Jr. had 7 blocks in 24 minutes. But where the game really kind of changed is when he picked up that 5th foul late in the third quarter. And it was pretty much all she wrote after that. So I mean, we had a lot of good takes on here, man. If you're a Timberwolves fan and you're not stopping by weekly to kind of listen to what we're talking about, not to say that we're the best, have the best takes known to mankind, but there's some good stuff that you can listen to and really pick up some valuable information. So if you're not stopping by, it should be.
Nothing else, the takes will get you riled up, as we saw on the on the page a little bit this week. But one thing that I wanted to mention was, and yes, Malik Beasley was great, but Jaden McDaniels, man, like
Stud.
that's remember at the beginning of the season, like we were like, when is Jaden McDaniels gonna pop out from and look the way he did last year? Like, he was doing nothing at the beginning of the season. He was posting like 2 points a game. I think he had like, I don't know, for the year, like 7 points a game. But man, a huge 15 points. He had some huge jump shots, a huge corner three that really, I would say, put it away at the end there. But man, Jaden was good. Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, the thing about him is he's just got ice water, just like D'Lo. I mean, he's the guy that, and he's been doing it this last stretch ever since he got back from that injury. I don't know if he maybe just got a lot of shots up or what, but he's hit huge shots after huge shots, and he stepped into them. It's not like pump fake, okay, then fine, I'll shoot it. I mean, he catches it, and with all the confidence in the world, he's pulling that trigger. It's been beautiful. I mean, he's not putting up huge numbers, but he's doing it like he's super efficient, and that's what we need from him. We don't want him taking 15 shots. We want him just hitting 70% of the shots he takes, and make that 4 or 5 shots. Not to mention guarding. Like, he's huge. He's huge. I mean, and we got to remember, this guy's 21. Not every human being is a 20-year-old phenom like Anthony Edwards that shows no fear. And when the lights come on, he blows up. Like, not everybody's that creature. But on the real world, there's creatures like, McDaniels, who you're gonna blossom into who you're gonna be. And we'll see what he turns into. But if he can stay consistent with how he's playing D, he's still picking up terrible fouls. But if he can stay consistent, and if Beasley can, like we've been saying all year, we need one guy to give us at least 15 points off the bench. If we have 2 guys that give us 15 points off the bench, the game's over. Like you said, if we're getting 60 from our big 3, it might not be 20, but give me 60 from them. And then give me 2 guys off the bench giving me, that's a wrap.
Good luck.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And some that I wanted to mention, and I had to Google it just to make sure. We got him with the 28th pick in the draft.
Yep.
Like, how often does that happen where you get someone who is that who is that effective with the 28th pick in the draft? Now, obviously, you have your Giannis's late in the draft, and you have your Jokic in the second round, but
Manu Ginobili's and stuff like that.
But for the most part, you have like in duty EBs, right? That's who you find that late in the draft. So, I mean, as much as it wasn't good, what happened with the whole Rosas thing, with the, I don't know, whatever the scandal that went on there. What a draft pick! Like what a steal at 28. Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I love that we finally got to talk a little Jaden and some positivity, because we've had some negative takes early on in the season with him just not being in the right spot. He looks like a completely different player since returning from that injury, and not only like just playing a lot better, but he's always in the right spot. Like you saw that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was late in the game. I don't remember who shot it. Someone airballed the three, and he's there for the putback. He just always seems to be in the right spot at the right time. I remember I believe it was against the Clippers, he hit that buzzer beater at the end of the quarter. Just
That was
confidence, huge. Man. He's just a different player right now. And besides all of the fact that he's actually giving us something offensively, which was a big concern for us early in the season,
right?
He is the best defender on our team. And he's going up against some of these guys, and he's putting it into them. Like, I remember Chris saying, man, Paul George wanted nothing to do with Anthony Edwards and Jaden. I got to call him Jaden now, because every time I hear J-Mac, I think of McLaughlin. So he's now back to being Jaden for me. But yeah, he just defensively, he's such a valuable asset on a team that, we play fast and we expect to score 120 points a game. Not every other NBA team plays like that with an actual good defender on their team. I remember when Houston, the Rockets, I believe it was under Rosas, when they were lighting up the league and scoring all these points, they didn't have anybody to play defense, but they didn't really need to, because they were that good offensively. So it's really nice to have a player like him be a phenomenal defender, and not only be a phenomenal defender, but like he can defend pretty much every single position too. Like he's got the length. I got nothing but high praises for what Jaden's done almost the past month, really.
Yeah, and not only that, and this is where I kind of want to go with Edwards as well. It wasn't like this was a game against. This ain't Detroit, man. This is round one of the playoffs. Like, that's his first ever playoff game. Gonna put up 15 points, grab 7 rebounds, and shoot that efficiently. I mean, come on. Like, with the 28th pick in the draft, they'll take that 10 out of 10 times every single time. And so we got to talk. I know everyone's talking about it, but the brilliance of Anthony Edwards, not only in tonight's game, but also against the Clippers. He seems like your prediction, like you were talking about it, Chris. But what was it that he was saying when he was when the
moment he stepped off the court, the cameras were on him, obviously, and he said he was screaming, "When the lights turn on, I show up."
Mm-hmm.
When the lights turn on, I show up. He's yelling that, and that's kind of been his mantra. And it's such a big win for us because, like I said last episode, Cat isn't that guy yet. Like he's a guy that when the lights get bright, he kind of withers. Like he wants, and I think some of it is Cat wants so bad to be put in that upper echelon of players. He wants it so bad that he overdoes it and steps out of his comfort zone. And Edwards is not that guy. Edwards is just being himself, treats it like any other game, but ups his aggression. It's been beautiful. And the thing that I've loved the most about it is not only is he being aggressive and making purposeful moves right when he gets the ball, but how many times did you see him take a hard drive and kick out at the last moment to an open three? Like his ball movement and like play creation is really taking an uptick in these last couple games, and that's just going to make him more and more deadly. Not to mention his man-to-man defense, which has also been, really good, really good.
Yeah, and something that I wanted to mention about Anthony Edwards, it seems like when Cat goes through the lane, he's on a straight line, right? Like he's just bam going through the lane. Edwards is kind of like he's here and then he dribbles over here and then he takes like a Euro step here. I feel like he's navigating in the lane much better than he did earlier in the season. And also we got to mention he's finishing at the rim. Like I don't remember what the stats are, but he's starting to finish at the rim. Jared, what have you seen out of A1 from day one?
He looks like a completely different player. I've been calling him playoff Ant because that's what he is to me. Like we talked about, the lights come on, and he's just filling it up. I would get frustrated with him, and maybe this is just me as a basketball fan. I got to understand that he's young, but like there was times where he was shooting 12 to 15 times a game and putting up like 4 to 10 points. And it was frustrating because we know how talented he is. We've all seen that since day one as Timberwolves fans. But now it's like, you know, when you're listening to a song that you like and you just turn the volume up a little bit, like he's cranking that baby up and he's riding around with his chain around his neck like he is the man. And right now he absolutely is the man.
For
Right.
sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. Actually, I was reading an article in the Star Tribune. I know my family still gets the Star Tribune old media, but there was this article in the Star Tribune where his like, it was almost like a school counselor from his high school, like who was really close to him, came to one of his games, and like the first thing Ant said, like, you want to take a ride in my Lamborghini? Like, he's a kid, right? He's 20 years old. He's figuring it out, but he's performing in such an amazing way. Like, I forget this. I think he's like third of a 23rd in a playoff debut, third most points of a 20-year-old ever. I mean, like,
of anybody.
Yeah, of anybody. That's right.
I think it's of anybody ever in their playoff debut. He was just behind Luka, who had 41.
Right. And Luka
Crazy.
and Luka's obviously got to carry a team, and Luka's great. But Chris, Jared, what were you saying?
I heard a stat the other day that said he was the 5th player under 21 to have 30 points in his playoff debut or something like that. Wow. Something crazy. And I'm assuming Luka was in there. LeBron was probably in there. You know, I'm trying to think back to who the other names on the list might be. But like, dude, this guy's. I think the thing with Edwards that really, really has come a long way, and you can tell this, and we talk about basketball being a confidence sport all the time, but his jump shot looks really good lately. It looks consistent. It looks smooth. And man, dude, every time I watch him play, I look at him and I say, this dude is more and more explosive every single time I see him. I just got nothing but high words to say about him right now. His speed, his defense, like we said from the get-go, this dude, the lights come on and he's ready to go. Like, he's the guy that wants that title fight in prime time on pay-per-view.
Absolutely. Chris, go ahead.
What seemed to really help unlock him lately is his mid-range. In the beginning of the year, it was, you know, and it's been preached to him and kind of knocked in his head for a good reason. 3-pointers and layups, 3-pointers and layups, 3-pointers and layups. But lately you've been seeing him do that kind of D-low, work the mid-ground, get your little jumper off, you know, hit a little top of the key jumper. Like, a lot of those mid-range shots, I think, are just kind of unlocking yet another spot for him. And I've always heard these old vets say, hey, in the playoffs, that's when you need the mid-range. You know, like, I don't know why that is, but a lot of these old vets, which, you know, some of them might be hating on the new system of threes and layups, but they're saying in the playoffs, mid-ranges are key. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, like, some of the shots he was hitting are just like, I remember I was watching the game with my dad, and he started on this side of the court, drove to the middle lane, then hit that step back with a guy right in his face.
Yep.
That was such a hard shot, but he does it effortlessly, and he's 20 years old. Let's move on to another one of the big three. Deangelo Russell, kind of an up and down game, not really getting it done on the offensive end, but did have 10 points and 9 assists. Chris, what do you think of his performance?
You know, I think sometimes you can have a star performance by staying out of the way. You know,
sure.
I think it's easy to get in the way when you're trying to be something that you're not, not that you're not, but when you're trying to establish yourself and maybe it's not your turn. And I think that's something that he really locked in with that game. Like you mentioned, in the second quarter, we had 11 turnovers, just stupid passing, you know, throwing it everywhere. And D'Lo wasn't involved in any of those. He wasn't on the court. And total, we ended up with 17, I believe. So we had 6 more the entire game. And a lot of that was D'Lo just running the offense, you know, like Denver, Peyton Manning. Like, he might not throw for 400 yards, but, you know, he's going to hit every third down, you know, and he's going to hit the right play. That's what D'Lo was doing. and he was just controlling everything and letting it flow. And the last thing you want a guy like that doing is forcing his hand when Cat and Edwards are on fire. So, I mean, it was beautiful. But when he needed to step into a huge three, he did, and he killed it. Like, he's still that big shot maker, and he still has it in his bag. But, sometimes box score watching isn't the best way to get good analysts, good way to analyze a basketball game. And D'Lo does things. He's starting to do things now that are outside of the box score. And I don't think anybody is really mad with his performance that was actually in the game.
Right. Yeah, I had no issue with it, particularly and talking about the big three a little bit. It's almost like, okay, now it's your turn. Like, you take it tonight. You take it tonight. Ant, this is your night. Ant and Cat go at him. D'Lo just kind of play a supporting role. Like, as much as we want to say, like, oh, we need all of them to score 20, like, here comes Malik Beasley off the bench to score too. Like, I feel like it's just like it's kind of like a team by committee. And as much as like ESPN and stuff wants to paint it like this is the coming out party for Ant, I feel like this is more of a team effort than anything else, in my opinion. Jared, what do you think?
Well, just looking at game one was kind of a weird game for me. Like I mentioned, Jaren Jackson's foul troubles, and it's something I kept an eye on. And guy had 7 blocks in 24 minutes. That's insane, But like looking at the benches, like game one to me was decided by the benches. The Timberwolves scored 43 points from their bench. Memphis scored 32 from theirs. But what was really interesting to me on the Timberwolves side is Jared Vanderbilt only played 18 minutes. And I don't know if that's just he can't shoot, and this is a game of shooters right now. A lot of fast-paced shooting threes, driving to the hole. 18 minutes from Vanderbilt was kind of weird to me, but like then we talked about it. You had Jaden who ended up playing 25 off the bench and putting up 15 points. That type of game flow is more of his skill set. So I think game one was kind of weird in a way, just because of how the benches kind of decided that game to me. Now, granted, you can look at me and say, well, Jared, Anthony Edwards had 36. He had a big part to do with that. And he did. But like when you look at the full game and the whole swing of things and the analytics and stuff, it really came down to the benches in game one, which is kind of weird to see in the NBA, or at least in playoff time.
Right. And I wanted to ask you and Chris both, but we'll start with you, Jared. What did you think of how do you think we defended Ja in this game? Do you think too many fouls? Or because honestly, I think to defending Ja, it's just making him take jump shots because he's not a great jump shooter. It's just, and obviously we saw with the dunk, he's got hops and everything. But I think if we can just defend him a little better, keep him from taking jump shots, I think we'll be all right. How do you think we did in game one, Jared?
I thought we did pretty well. Obviously, I don't like him shooting 20 free throws, but, the Timberwolves foul a lot. That's nothing new there. Like, whoever's got the ball is probably going to get fouled. That's just how the Timberwolves play. But I thought they did okay. They mixed it up. They threw different defenses at them. But like you said, where we want to be okay with certain guys shooting is we want Ja to be able to be the one shooting the majority of the threes, opposed to Desmond Bane, who he leads the league in 3-point shooting. And then you had
not the top,
and then Dylan Brooks. Obviously, he can get going too, but he didn't play all that well either, in my opinion. So it's really kind of a goofy mindset to sit at, but I mean, I thought we did okay on him. Nothing like mind blowing. I mean, obviously he still filled it up quite a bit and got to the free throw line 20 times, but it was fine. As long as we're rotating, and we talked about this in previous podcasts, if we're rotating to the 3-point line and playing good defense, not great, but like if we're flashing a hand on a shooter, getting a body into him after he lands or whatever, because if you take out the feet, then that's a foul too, which the Timberwolves know that all too well. But yeah, no, I thought they were fine. I wouldn't say it was great, but I wouldn't say that it was bad either.
Chris, what do you think? How can did you like the defense on Ja, or can we do better game two? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think this is going to kind of just, go into adjustments for game two, which is going to be huge between these two teams and coaches. And I think we did a great job. And I think part of the plan was, and I think Finch was asked this before the game and didn't want to really answer, but I think they kind of were fully comfortable with letting Ja go off. Because like I said, they're 20-4 without Ja. And that was with Tyus. I think out of those 24 games, I think he only scored over 20 points twice or 3 times in that whole stretch. So it's not like Tyus came in and was, leading his team in scoring. It was about ball movement. It was about everyone getting involved. It was about the coming out party of Jaren Jackson Jr. It was about Desmond Bane getting in a rhythm. It was about all that happening, And when you've got one guy pounding the ball up top, nonstop driving, doing everything, those other guys, they can't get in a rhythm. And like you said, this is a team game. I'm fine with what happened, mainly because it came out with a win. But I like the fact that we kind of forced them maybe out of what's their best game, and that's getting everyone involved. One little thing to know, I think it was 2017-18. Portland Trailblazers were the 3 seed, and the Pelicans were the 6 seed. And this was something that was brought up on the Dane Moore podcast that I thought was interesting. The Pelicans beat the Blazers that year in the first round, and they swept them. And the way they swept them was they rushed and they forced the ball out of Dame Lillard's hands right off the top. They would rush them with Holiday and Anthony Davis and just kind of trap them, and they didn't have an answer for that. It's the complete opposite of what we did last game with Ja, which kind of let him do the thing. But here's the tricky thing. I wouldn't be surprised if we switch it up and do that this game, because the associate head coach for that Pelicans team was Chris Finch.
Oh,
that was their strategy they used against Lillard. And I think there's going to be games like that. We'll probably stick with the same thing because it worked. But if it doesn't work, if we don't get a win, it wouldn't be surprised if we just completely trap Ja and force him to make a quick pass out of it. So it's just going to be a game of adjustments, and it's going to be beautiful to see.
Right.
I expect a ton of physicality out of Memphis, or they're going to have to take Adams off the court. It's going to be fun to watch.
Jared, what do you think? Adjustments for game 2?
I don't know that there's really a whole lot. To be completely honest with you, my biggest concern heading into this series is the fact that Memphis is phenomenal on the boards, and we out-rebounded them in game 1, which was a big shock to me. Like seeing something like that. I guess my biggest adjustment, I don't know if it's an adjustment, but we can't let the other team shoot 43 times at the free throw line. I don't know if I consider that an adjustment, but this is not a new story to the Timberwolves. We were outshot at the free throw line by, I believe it was 16. I think we had 27. Not ideal, but
hard to win.
I think, it is. But turnovers, we had 17 in the game. 12 were in the second quarter. I mean, I'll kind of live with that. With one bad quarter, really, or 11, whatever it was. I think my biggest thing is to get D'Lo going a little bit more. It's frustrating for me to watch D'Lo shoot 2 for 11. Obviously, that's the kind of player that D'Lo is. It's kind of weird to say that we have 3 stars and 2 of them can go off at any time and 2 of them can go cold at any time. And then there's Cat, who's just always Cat. I think my biggest defensive adjustment would be, don't let Dillon Brooks beat us, because he's the guy that's going to get a lot of the open looks. We don't want Bane shooting. We're okay with Ja and Brooks shooting a little bit, but that dude can light it up too. He kind of reminds me a lot of a Gary Trent. I know you guys know exactly who I'm talking about because we just played them recently, but Gary Trent is kind of in that way too. Like he's kind of the forgotten about guy on the Raptors that just seems to have some open looks. And he can go 6 for 9 and he can go 1 for 7. That's a big difference in a game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And thankfully we're talking about shooting, but at least we didn't shoot as bad as the Bulls did game 1. 32%.
Oh my, DeRozan,
18
my God.
18% from 3. Leading scorer at Vucevic, although he had 24 points, 9 for 27. When you have Vucevic shooting 27 shots and only making 9 of them, not good. Chris, go ahead. What'd you have?
Talking about some adjustments.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what Vanderbilt does. Nas came in and played some minutes in action and was not very effective at all.
No.
So maybe it'll be a time when, if the Grizzlies decide to go small like they did for a lot of the game, maybe we'll have Vanderbilt at the 5. I don't mind that since he's basically a 5 on offense anyways, like a traditional 5. So that'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. I think the biggest adjustment is I think we are completely in Memphis's head. I mean, I think we are deep in their head. I saw you mentioned what's his name? The guy you just mentioned and compared him to Trent. I'm having a brain
Dylan
fart.
Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. He hit a 3 on Ant and was just chirping at him, and that guy was chirping heavy. And then Ant came down and Euro step layups like, yeah, not interested. But we're in their heads heavy. Ant kind of called out their fans, which is ingenious, which is going to make their fans go rabid, which is nothing better than rabid fans, because when you quiet them, it's just ghostly quiet. And that's what I noticed about that game is I was listening to it, and for the period of the game when the sound went off, the announcer's sound went off, and you just heard the, pretty much in-game crowd, it was dead. Like nobody was lively. So if we can take the crowd out, we can stay in their head. We can make Ja try to, he's going to try to score 170 points, and that's perfect. Great. Don't pass it to Bane for the open 3. I love that. I think they're going to come out and try to bully ball us, try to be physical, try to get that old grit and grind kind of stuff. And it comes down to the refs at that point. Like you said, if they shoot 25 more free throws than us, it's not going to be easy to win, but we'll see what happens.
Jared, go ahead.
Game 1, Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams combined for 12 points. And that's supposed to be the way Memphis plays. They play offensive rebounds. They get every rebound. They play fast as well and shoot threes, much like us. But, to have two of your starters combined for 12 points when you're supposed to be the team that sticks it to the other team, because that's the type of ball you play, is where you get every rebound. That ain't going to work. So, spreading them out, I think, and this is my personal opinion, I don't think Adams is a bad NBA player, but come playoff time, he's one of those guys that kind of seems to get exposed. Like, he's just a big dude that isn't very fast. And when you see the playoffs, when you see, like I said, turning the volume up a little bit, these guys are a lot faster than him. And this is kind of that time of year where it's like, how do you make an adjustment? My biggest takeaway from the first game was the fact that Brandon Clark outplayed both of them in terms of minutes. I think 27 minutes off the bench. Now, granted, Jaren Jackson Jr. was battling fouls, so that had a lot to do with it. But don't be surprised if the Timberwolves come out early and are clicking again. If you see them just put a little, this is where Adams is sitting on the bench, and he might just stay parked there.
Mm-hmm. Chris, go ahead.
I love Brandon Clark. I didn't want him in the draft because I thought he had very limited upside, but his floor is so high, and he gives you exactly what you need, exactly what the Timberwolves would need if we could get a hold of him. But yeah, Jaren Jackson, Brandon Clark front court is exactly what I would have to combat Cat in the Timberwolves. It's not like Cat is going to overpower anyone in the post. That's not his game. He's straight line drives, and he's, stretching you out. So if I was Memphis, that's what I do. I wouldn't have Adams play another minute, but we'll see what happens.
So let's go here. And it's kind of a good wrap up kind of thing. Chris asked us, what percentage are you guys giving the Wolves to win the series? And it's kind of a broad question, but Jared, what do you think?
I would say as it currently sits, about 62%. Obviously we have home court advantage now. If we win game 2, it's over. I hate to sit there and take a victory lap after 2 games, but we have 3 home games and we play very well in the Target Center. And we have all year. So if we were to somehow steal tomorrow's game, I mean, this series is pretty much over in my opinion. However, I think I said at the beginning, I think this is going to be a long series. I'm thinking 6 or 7 games. Tomorrow's game, obviously, if we find a way to win, it might be over in 4 or 5. Like it really might be, because then we get at home. But my original prediction was the Wolves in 7, but I don't know that I like our chances in a game 7 on the road. So I might piggyback off what Chris said earlier in the week or over the weekend. And
it's what smart people do.
I'm going to say Wolves in 6, but I would say our percentage to win the series as it sits right now is still probably only about 62%, because game 2 is very important. But if we win game 2, it'll be 100%.
Chris, what do you got?
I was going to say 100%, but that might be a bit much. And it might, I know it sounds super conspiracy theory, but I think a lot of it depends on who the NBA wants to move on. But they are kind of showing that they don't care either way, because they're having us on NBA TV for our second game, which is kind of disrespectful for the number 2 seed. But I would say, yeah, I mean, I'm in the 70% range. Like, I think I think it's definitely ours to win. I think we're the better team. I think we match up better with them. I mean, I think, I think we're playing better. I think we're the better team. I say 70%. I think if we lose, I'll be disappointed.
Right. I agree. And I'm with you. I'm as much as the Wolves pessimist comes out of me sometimes, I think we're going to win this series. I really do. I really do. So I'll put it at a nice 69%. That's what I'll put it as. Anyway, so the last question that I have for you guys, by the way, thank you for the kind words, Charles Cobb, and Dane Moore does great work, but hopefully we can do better than that. So predictions, I know we just predicted the series. Predictions on how the next protest is going to go down. Like, are we going to have like a shark, like almost like WWE, like a shark cage down from the cylinder, come down kind of thing, or what do you guys think? Give me a prediction. We'll start with you, Jared. What do you think? Next protest, what's it going to look like?
It's going to be everyone's favorite halftime show girl. What was her name? Red Panda?
The Red Panda?
Yeah, she's going to, instead of flipping bowls with her feet, she's going to flip them with her head onto her feet and say that this world is ass backwards right now, so I had to change up my routine.
All right, Chris, what do you think?
I think we can expect for like maybe like a couple gallon bags of like some sort of fake blood substance to be thrown out on the court. That's my move. I think it's going to have to be something like that. By the way, I think I've kind of got to the bottom of what it's all about. And I think it has something to do with Glenn Taylor. He owns a bunch of poultry farms. And I think with this whole like bird flu that's killing everything, I think he had to like eradicate like some, all these poultry farms are doing it. They have to like kill all their flock. And I think he did it in some way that they didn't like, which it's a miserable existence to be a bird in a poultry farm. So I don't know if it's better or worse, but that's what I think it's about. I personally find joy in the fact that they're having a meat-based protest on the Timberwolves, Minnesota Timberwolves, when the game's being played in probably the biggest city for barbecue in America. But that's perfectly fine. Point. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Maybe they don't stop. Maybe they don't stop. Maybe before they went and protested at all the barbecue joints and stuff. Who knows?
Possible.
Who knows?
It's possible.
But I don't know. We're 2-0 when there's a protest. So
yeah, keep them coming, lady.
Yeah.
Ladies.
I mean, also, as much as we like people people want to talk about Glenn Taylor or whatever. It's A-Rod and Laurie now, so I don't know. Like, I feel like we're kind of passing the torch, and we're almost kind of done with Taylor. He's still pulling some of the strings, but I feel like we're moving on. Jared, what were you gonna say?
Oh, it just left me all of a sudden. No. This
Might be
drive
for
me
the
nuts
better.
now. Yeah, no, it was probably something that wasn't
Probably
the
something you
best
should
thing
have
to say.
All right, so on that note, let's leave it there.
It'll come back.
Yeah, maybe it'll come back. I feel like it's getting dinner time for most of us, so I feel like we should wrap it up. Jared, thanks so much for being here.
Absolutely, man. Not a better time of the year to have a podcast. I love seeing people in the comments section. You know, we don't ask for everyone to stop by every single week, but every time we see something, all of us see it. We love to have people be a participant of this podcast. We always say this, you know, like, we don't look at this as something that like we're disappointed in if people don't view it. Like, this is a hangout. This is what we love to do. We love to sit down and talk Wolves basketball. So I always love to see people be a part of it. Go Wolves, baby, man. If we win game 2, turn off the lights. Maybe not, though, because we might need Ant to have the lights on still.
Right, that's true. And Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, no problem. Plus or minus 15 points from Malik Beasley. That's going to be a win or a loss. If he gets under 15, it's a loss. Over 15, it's a win.
There you go. Something for you guys to watch for. And this is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Something that I want to mention. Tell your friends about it. Like, if you like what we do and you got a Wolves fan in your life that wants some analysis, wants some game breakdown from these three minds, tell them about it. Anyway, it is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. And follow us on Spotify so you never miss an episode as well. And as always, go Wolves, beat Memphis.